There's an Australian film that will become available at some stage very soon, shot in Greece, a film called Voices in Deep. And it's my great pleasure to be speaking to the writer-director of Voices in Deep, Jason Raftopoulos. Jason, welcome to Movie Metropolis.
Thanks for having me, Peter.
Now, this is such an intriguing story about, it's sort of centered around the refugee crisis in Greece in the mid 2010s, 15, and so on, and about a group of characters and their interactions. What was the inspiration behind the film?
Well, I think like the rest of the world during the Syrian refugee crisis, we were, I was kind of watching TV or snippets that were coming on through social media about kind of the massive people movement. I think in 2015, almost 1 million refugees had left Syria and were kind of traveling into Europe, into Greece, and then on to Germany and Italy, and that those images kind of were quite. I just didn't know what how to respond to those things, and so it became a kind of a springboard to a deeper meditation about, those kind of stories and how I could potentially, I don't know, tell a story as someone who's living in Australia, seeing something so far away, disconnected in a sense from that world, and yet somehow feeling inextricably connected to it.
Uh-huh. Okay. So tell me about the logistics of the film, writing the storyline and shooting it in Athens.
It was the I started writing few I started doing research really. That was really what the beginning of how that worked. I'd been interviewing refugees here in Australia, and then I reached out to NGOs in Athens who were dealing with the kind of the onslaught of the crisis, because in a sense it was just like a war zone for NGOs in Greece, particularly because they had just thousands of people coming every day. And so it was really a combination of research and interviews that led me to this kind of narrative of a volunteer going over there to help, and then paralleling that story with the refugees who were just trying to find a footing in the aftermath of the crisis. Then we kind of had everything set to go, and COVID hit, and so the film got completely locked down, and we were unable to leave, and in fact the film was probably going to never be made. So the budget changed completely, the actors changed. We really were at the very edge of deciding whether or not we could continue with the film, but I don't know. I'd already worked 5, 6 years on the project. I've been thinking about it even longer than that, and so I just with my producer Lexi, we said no, we're just going to go for it, and we applied for a dispensation to leave the country. I'd been working with a new producer on the ground in Athens, and and we went in the height of lockdown where everyone was kind of not allowed to be on the streets. It was just the most crazy experience I'd ever done, and probably would not recommend it to anyone else.
Hey, what a process! And so tell me then about the process of finding the actors who are in the film.
Yeah, that was a really interesting process. Again, I had been prior to COVID, I'd been working with a Syrian refugee non-actor to play the lead role, and I had already found the younger brother who was also a Syrian refugee, and his mum was working as a translator at an NGO, who was fully supportive of it, and they were both fantastic. Unfortunately, around 6 weeks before shooting, the lead that I had been working with for almost a year, he he just found the whole thing a bit too confronting. So I thought, when you're doing these things via Zoom and rehearsals and everything's going well, it was just one of those things that I had to respect. And he stayed on the project as a cultural consultant, and it was about 6 weeks before shooting that my casting director, um, we had put the net out quite wide to a lot of Arab-speaking countries, but we couldn't guarantee they would be able to enter and leave the country given the international border closures. But did find a local actor who absolutely blew us away, and he basically went on a boot camp of kind of diving into the world, and he shadowed a person that we had found whose circumstances were similar to that in the film. He had worked with the non-actor that I had worked with the year prior, and he learnt the language, he learnt the dialect, he lost a lot of weight. He was transformative. He was an amazing actor, and yeah, hopefully that's there on the screen.
Okay, yeah, absolutely, and you have a number of interesting women in the cast as well, who go through their own
Yes,
journeys.
yes, I should mention. Yes, absolutely. I should mention that the first person to come on board was Angeliki Papulia, who was an actor that I greatly admired and loved, and really it was her that started the ball rolling. So I just have to acknowledge Angeliki, who loved the script and was playing not so much a lead role, but a supporting role. Um, and then it was finding the Australian actor, the volunteer, who I'd found during the workshop that I was doing in Melbourne. And again, like I like working with non-actors and first-time actors and trying to bring new faces onto the screen. And yeah, she was fantastic, and I really, really loved working with her.
Okay, great stuff. Now, you take a rather unusual perspective to some extent, which is great. It makes your film quite distinctive, on the refugee crisis and so on. Um, was there a particular film or event or incident or whatever that might have triggered the way you approach the story?
There's not many films that do what's called almost like a dual narrative. Where the pathway, there's multi-narrative films where, they're intersecting storylines, um, um, with intersecting storylines. But this was a very specific choice to say that these are two parallel stories that are inextricably connected. Um, and in a way, uh, although there wasn't a specific film that I modeled that kind of narrative on, and there are a couple of films that do this.
Mm.
Um, um, but it was really a kind of my experience of some still photography exhibitions that I loved, and one was when I was living in New York City. I experienced two great photographic exhibitions that probably are the seed of what of the genesis of this film. And one was at the Ellis Island Museum, by a photographer called Lewis Hine, who captured arriving immigrants post World War II, and I think prior to that as well. And then another one by Gordon Parks, who kind of um, did an exhibition of street life in Harlem, I think in the 40s and 50s. Don't quote me on the dates of that, but it was that kind of the outsider really that I was really fascinated. How does someone kind of navigate their lives on the streets and then their lives from a country that was their home and trying to find a new footing in a new place? And so, yeah, I kind of sense that there was this story to be told on the streets of Athens in the aftermath of such a crisis, and then trying to kind of live in that kind of milieu of these characters dealing with kind of this post-traumatic stress of this humanitarian kind of crisis that unfolded before them.
Ah, interesting to hear all that. Okay. What made you decide to title the film Voices in Deep?
Well, it's really highlighting the idea of these characters being hidden. You know, they are the unseen, the unheard, and that's really what the idea of the title. It's just living with characters who are not seen or heard, and part of that became how we shot the film and why it's so restrained and why there's more things that there's as many things that happen off screen than there are on screen, and in a way, kind of visually and stylistically, that's what we were going for. Like these are the people that we don't spend time with. These are the people that we we see on our social media feeds, and it's a quick flick, and then we're on to the next thing. So it was really about engendering time with these people and being with them and hearing their voices and seeing them in a way that we don't necessarily see.
Uh-huh. Okay, fair enough. That's fine. Now, I know the film has had some limited screenings and was at the Greek Film Festival and has screened elsewhere. Tell me about that. And I know at the moment the film is currently not available, but should be in the immediate future, hopefully.
Yes, hopefully we'll be able to announce that it's going to be on a platform soon. But yeah, we screened at MIF, which was fantastic, and we screened at the Thessaloniki Film Festival. We screened at South by Southwest in Sydney, the Greek Film Festival, and festival in Barcelona, and I mean a bunch of other festivals around the world. But yes, we're excited that, and we hope that Australian audience will get to see this Australian film in a way well, sometime soon. So we'll just cross our fingers and hopefully something gets done.
Sure. Yeah. So watch this space. We'll see. Hopefully the film will be seen
Yeah.
very shortly. Now, Jason, I remember talking to you, and we just talked off air about this, that your first feature film was West of Sunshine, which was such an interesting film because, in particular, it featured Damien Hill, whose last film, I think it was, and we had a long chat about West of Sunshine and what an interesting film that was.
No, thank you. I was really grateful and lucky that West of Sunshine had the run that it did, and that people saw it, and I don't know, in some way responded to that film. And working with Damien, of course, was an absolute pleasure. And yeah, I mean, he's sorely missed.
Yes, exactly, and such an intriguing local story, which um, I think had quite good impact on audiences, I thought.
No, thank you. I think it was doing Q&As and listening to responses from people. I was just trying to make a personal film, really, about a father and a son, and you don't expect anyone to. I don't expect anyone to see anything. I don't even expect to make films. I don't take any of it for granted. Um, so, for a film to be made purely out of the love of cinema and the love of kind of wanting to express something and then have it kind of be seen internationally and be seen here and be responded to. I mean, it's the best you could possibly ask for. Again, I don't expect any of it, and uh, yeah, no, I don't take it for granted.
Sure, sure. So, what is it that attracts you to filmmaking in the first place?
It's a good question. I think it's just a medium that I understand. It kind of is a language that I can find meaning in. I think it's for me, it's when I look through a frame or when I put one image against another, I can kind of make sense of of it. I don't I was never a very good writer. I can't spell. My grammar's horrible. I'm probably dyslexic. The written word, even though I write my screenplays, but when you try and read my screenplays, it's like chicken scratchings. I have someone doing my spelling and my grammar. It's horrible. So I'm not a natural writer, even though I do. But but visuals and sound make sense to me. And when I combine them into, I don't know, an idea, it kind of makes sense. So the medium itself makes sense to me. And I just love being in the world, and I'm a lover of cinema, and I find times when I'm watching films, usually when I'm alone, is some of the best times. I just have a great experience when I'm in the cinema and I'm watching films. I just love being kind of drawn into a world and I don't know, learning something about ourselves and about the world that I didn't know before. Essentially, that's why I do it. I'm just trying to learn something.
Sure. No, no, fair enough. I appreciate that. So, are there any particular films or filmmakers that might inspire you?
Look, I love I love the old films. I'm kind of people like Abbas Kiarostami or Yasujiri Ozu are my heroes. Satyajit Ray, Antonioni, Fassbinder, Agnes Varda. These are, Robert Bresson. I just love the old. I just love the old Fellini. I don't know. I just love those old filmmakers. I just think they're absolute. There's so much to be gained from those old films. And older filmmakers that I'm still kind of still digesting all their work. So yeah, I love the people who are making films since then, of course. But I find myself leaning into cinema history in a way and old films just to find the answers to what I need in my films here. But yeah, I think I'm obsessed with old Hollywood as well, I love some of the old westerns and John Ford and Nicholas Ray and Nicholas Roeg. I mean, there's too many filmmakers who I love to kind of say, I just love this one. Yeah.
Fair enough. No, no, that sounds good. So, Jason, are you working on another film at the moment?
I am. I have a couple in at different stages. I have two films that I think are ready to go. And so now it's just a process of trying to stitch them together, and that's the hard part in my business is finding how you get a film up is the hardest part. But
Mm.
yes, essentially, and a little bit of a veer away from um um a lean into genre is essentially what I'm doing.
Uh-huh. Okay, fair enough. Hopefully that will all work out and we can talk again with your next film. So that would be great. Um, and
That'll be great. Again, I don't take any of it for granted. Yeah.
yeah, no, that would be great. So I must ask you, in terms of recent films or even television series, is there anything you've seen of late that has impressed you?
Um, yeah, I really loved uh Ruski Hamaguchi's Evil Does Not Exist. I saw that. I really think he's a very interesting filmmaker. I really loved that film, and I love Drive My Car, but I loved his earlier work, Asako 1 and 2 as well. So I love Sean Baker. I saw Nora recently. I thought that was fantastic as well, and Mikey Madison's performance was incredible. But um, yeah,
Yeah,
look, I mean, those are really a couple I'm interested to see The Brutalist, so
yeah.
that would be an interesting film to watch. What did I watch recently? I'm just trying to think. Sorry, I saw Seed of the Sacred Fig. I thought that was a very interesting film. There was another French film called Suleiman's Story that I loved. Um, um, and then Miguel Gomez's last film as well. I thought that was really interesting.
Yep.
So yeah, look, there of course there's the contemporary filmmakers are making wonderful, incredible films. Lots of stuff come that you don't see independent cinema. I saw a film recently called Medium by Christina Iokomidis. She's an amazing filmmaker. Animal as well is another film that came out of Greece, which I loved. Look, yeah, sorry, I go on and on. So there's quite a few films that I try and digest as much as possible, but from contemporary filmmakers, it's an exciting time.
Yes. Yes. Fair enough. No, that's
I'm
great.
still yet to see. I'm- yeah.
Yep. No, that's absolutely fine. Look, Jason.
Sorry, I cut you off. Yeah.
Yep. Look, great talking to you. Voices in Deep, look out for it. It will become available soon, I'm sure, on a platform or so. And we've been speaking to the writer-director of Voices in Deep, Jason Raftopoulos. Jason, thanks so much for talking with me.
Thank you so much, Peter. It's a pleasure.
Okay, all the best.